Hi there. In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to process the user's answer when they answer one of the questions that you've generated. So I'm going to go back to, let me go, actually before we do that, let's just double check to make sure that we set that invisible button, remember that we created, that was called BTN equals, or BTN enter, I should say, that we set that as the accept button for the form. So if I click on the form and let's see, so I can click on the form, remember, by clicking once on the title bar, just once. I'm going to look and see that button enter, the accept button, is BTN enter. All right, and actually, let's see, let me set the button cancel, the cancel button, to be exit. So the cancel button property is what happens when the user has basically hit the escape key. So that's going to cause the program to close. So I'm going to set that while I'm thinking about it. All right, so I'm going to cover up that kind of invisible button that I don't want the user to see. And now let me go into my code. And this is going to be in the event handler for that enter button. So when the user clicks enter, all right, I'm going to say what? What do I want to do? Okay, well, I don't want to process anything if there's basically nothing in there in the text box. So I want to make sure that there's actually something there. Otherwise, when I try to process the number, I'm going to get an error because it's going to be trying to make numbers out of nothing. So it's kind of a similar problem that we ran into in our calculator programs. So what should I do? I'm going to say, okay, first of all, if LBL, it's the text box, text user answer dot text not equal to nothing, then what do I want to do? Okay, well, let's think about it. All right, I need to look at their answer, or the number that comes in the text box, and I want to compare it to what the correct answer is. Because when I generated the problem, remember I generated what the correct answer is? So their answer is going to come in, and let me say this. Let me go up and create a variable called, all right, looks like I already have it. It's called user answer. Okay, so I'm going to go down back to the enter, and I'm going to say, all right, let me first of all convert the user answer into a string value, because that's how we're going to compare them. So if I say, oh, you know what? Yeah. Okay, if I say, no, I'm sorry, I need to convert the user answer, which is a string value in the text box, to a numeric value so that I can compare them. So first of all, I'm going to say, okay, user answer, which is an int value, equals, and then convert dot to int 32, and then it's going to be text user answer dot text. So that's going to convert, take in what's in the text box, convert it to an int value, and assign it to the variable user answer. Okay, then I'm going to say if, okay, now I can compare the user answer with the correct answer. So if the user answer is correct answer, so that's the case when they actually answered correctly, then what do I want to do? Well, I want to increment how many questions they've answered correctly. But to do that, I need to actually make a variable that's called, I'll call it num answered correctly. And then I'm also going to make a variable called num must answer. And let me just shorten these a little bit. These names to num anst correct and num must anst correct. Okay, so the num must answer correctly is going to be the variable that determines how many questions they have to answer before the time's up. So, and the num anst correct is going to keep track of, as the game goes on, how many they've answered correctly. So let's go back to where we start the game. So when we start the game, they haven't answered any correctly yet. So I'm going to say num answered correct equals what? 0. All right. So I need to move that back down to 0 as soon as they click begin. All right. And then I also want to give an initial value to the number they must answer correctly. So a good place to do that is either, let's see, did I make a load event for this? Yes, I did. So I'm going to create a load event, and I'm going to do that by double-clicking on the title bar when I'm in design view. And I'm going to say num must answer correct equals, and then let me give it a value of like, I'll just say, for the sake of us debugging the program, let me say 3. So then in my game they only have to answer 3 correctly, at least for now. So this will make debugging much easier than if I picked a bigger number like 10 or 20. Okay, so let's see, where was I now? I was back in the event handler for the text box, or the button enter. Alright, so let me see. So I'm going to say, if they answered it correctly, what? Well, I need to increment how many they've answered correctly, right? So I'm going to say num anst correct equal, or plus plus. So that adds 1 to the variable num anst correct. And now I want to check to see if they've reached the maximum number. So if they've if they've answered as many correct as they need to end the game, then I need to obviously do something else. So I'm going to say num answered correct equals num must answer correct. Then what do I want to do? Well, first of all, I want to stop the timers. So I'm going to say LBL timer dot text, or dot, I'm sorry, enabled equals false. And let's see. So what do I want to do? Let me flash a nice message like label problem. In the label, I'm going to say what? What do you want me to say? I'll say game is over, or game is completed. Okay, and then I'm going to make the text user answer, I'm going to set it back to saying nothing, to having nothing in it, so I don't forget, so it's all ready to go for the next game. Oops, and that should be dot text equals nothing, and I'm going to say, oops, user answer, isn't it? And I'm also going to say what? I want to make that invisible. And let's see, that should do it. So, and you know what? Let me make the button enter dot visible equals false as well. just because if I don't make it false, if the user scrolls or moves their mouse over it, it's going to be highlighted and become visible, which I don't want. And let me make sure that it becomes visible again when I start the game. So, and let me make sure the text box becomes visible when I start the game. So text user answer dot visible equals true. Label problem dot visible equals true, and btn enter dot visible equals true. Now you may say, oh, I think we did that in the generate problem as well. But sometimes it's good to just be redundant. Adding a level of redundancy makes sure that there isn't some case where you forgot some little error in your logic, and it just makes sure it gives you like a second level of certainty that what is being displayed at the correct time is being displayed. Now you may say, well, even if the enter button is visible, they're not going to see it because there happens to be a text box over it. Well, that is true, but to C#, all it cares about is that visible property is set to true. If it's not set to true, the user can click answer to their heart's content, but they're never going to have, it's never going to trigger the event handler for the button. And I'm sorry, the user can click the enter button as much as they want. If the enter button's visible property is set to false, nothing's going to happen. You have to have the enter button's visible property set to true for the accept button property of the form, which is set to that enter button, to work. Okay, so now what happens if they did not get the correct answer? Well, I'm going to say else, and then what? So else, so where would it be here? Else, oh no, I know what the problem is. I need another curly brace. Okay, and I'm going to say else, if they did not get the correct answer, what needs to happen? It needs to just generate another problem. All right, so let's see if this is going to work. All right, so the user started with addition, and they made it easy. At begin, the user clicks enter. Oh, so something happened in my logic. Gosh, a lot of things happened that are wrong. All right, somehow the game is completed label is being displayed even though I didn't answer the correct number of answer problems. So let's see what's going on here, see if I can figure it out. All right, I think I figured it out. Did you figure it out? Okay, well the problem is it says there's a little error in my logic here. So let's think about it. I have if text user answer.text not equal to nothing. Well, guess what? There's gonna until when I hit enter, I forgot that I need to first of all clear the text box. So because I didn't clear the text box, there would always be something in the text box. So let's clear the text box no matter whether they got the answer right, because I'm always going to need to do that. So let me say, all right, let's say down at the bottom, I'm going to say text user answer dot text equals, I'm going to clear it. Okay, so that's going to be, let me fix my tabbing. That's going to be down at the bottom. So every time they're done answering something, I'm going to clear it. And do I have an extra parenthesis somewhere? Let's see. Or do I have one in the wrong place? Yeah, I do. This one needs to be tabbed in. Right? And then that needs to be tabbed. And then and I don't know if I've ever pointed it out to you, but when you highlight one curly brace, it will show you what the matching curly brace is. And remember, the matching curly brace should be at the same level of indentation, so that can help you straighten out your curly braces. Okay, there's one other thing we need to do, and I haven't discussed this yet, and that is, when the user enters something, well, actually, let me run this and see if that fixed one of the problems. All right, so let me do division this time since I haven't tried that. So, okay, enter. Really? Did it generate the same problem again? All right, must be an error in my logic once again. So why does it continue to generate the same problem? All right, we're going to have to try and figure this one out. All right, I think I figured out the problem. And that is that basically every time they generate a problem, I'm assigning a new random variable to the variable generated. Now apparently it starts with the same seed of numbers each time. So without getting into the details of this, let me just say that we should only generate a value for that random variable once. So I'm going to go do that in the event here, or the load event for the form. So let me say generator equals new random. Okay, and now let me give it a shot. So I'm going to move that line down to the load event. So let's do easy division. So 3. All right, that doesn't seem to be working. All right, so this is going to be a challenge. So let me use the debugging tools and see if I can figure it out. And if you figured it out by now what my problem is, good for you. Oh, I see what the problem is. I never generated a problem. The way my logic is set up here, I only generate a new problem if they got the correct answer or if they got it wrong. I never generated a new problem if they got it right. So I need to add that, and then what am I going to do? Okay, num answered correctly, and then I'm going to write generate problem there. And now you may say, okay, well, they've answered the correct number. Why would I need to generate a new problem? Well, if I put generate the problem there, whether or not the game is going to be over, it's going to generate the problem. Now, if the game is over, it's going to basically immediately blank out that the text box, and so basically it's going to happen so fast that the user is never going to see that problem. And I'm sorry, and it's also going to put in game is completed in the text box of a label. Now, I didn't like the fact that well, maybe I'll save what I was about to say for the next screencast. Alright, so now I'm kind of curious why my timer is not stopping. So let me make sure that I have the right timer when I say LBL timer dot you know what? It's timer time dot enabled equals false. What am I thinking? I said in here I said what? Where did I turn off the timer? I thought I did somewhere. I said label timer dot enabled equals false. That disables a label, which is essentially does nothing. So let me say timer dot, let's see, what was it called? Timer time. I think it was timer time dot enabled equals false. Yeah, that's better. And then well, I'll keep the game as completed for now. Alright, so let's see if this works. Right, let's try subtraction this time. So it's going to be 1, -8, -3, 0, 6. Okay, that at least worked there. This brings up another problem. Did you notice that it generated negative problems where the answers are negative? And really, we don't want that to happen. Okay, first of all, we have a mass text box that only accepts digits, so that it's impossible for the user to enter the correct a number, a negative number. So how are we going to handle that? Well, let's go back to the generate problem method. So where are we? Okay, so we're going to say if op chosen equals subtraction. Alright, so it's generated two numbers, num1 and num2. So we're going to check to see which number is bigger. So we're going to say if num2 greater than num1, okay, or actually since we already have the text or the what we're going to put for the case when num1 is greater than num2, we're going to say if num1 greater than num2, then what? Oops, not num1, minus num1, then we're going to say that. Okay, so that's the case that we want, where it generates the first number being greater than the second one. And then we're going to say else. So what's the only other case? Either that they're equal or num1 is less than num2. So in that case, we want to put num2 first in our problem. So we're going to say else label problem dot text equals, and then I'm going to copy, actually let me copy and paste that. Copy that, paste, and now the difference is I'm going to put the bigger number first, or if they're equal to each other, I don't really care. Alright, because they're going to get an answer of 0. Alright, so that should fix that. Now let me try it again. So let me do subtraction. So I should do 2, 2, 3. Good. Alright, good, that seemed to work. Alright, hope this was helpful. We just have a few more things to do with our game till we have the basic game completed, and that's going to involve just putting up what their time is and maybe creating a new label that keeps track of it, that just tells them, well, actually we need to make the picture box that's going to move across the screen and tell them how many they've answered correctly. So we'll do that in the next screencast. Cheers.